Hello and welcome to another edition of the CP podcast. I'm Tim Pruss, one of the nutritionists at CP Feeds, and today I'm with Clint Hodorff from Second Look Holsteins. One of the topics that we get a lot of questions of and a lot of interest in is cover crops. And at Second Look, they do a lot of interesting things with cover crops. I'm going to let Clint give a little history of himself and the farm.
My name is Clint Hodorff, owner and manager of the cropping site at Second Look Holsteins. We've been a dairy here for the fourth generation now. We're currently milking about 1,000 cows, a little over 1,000 cows. My past history was I did agronomy work at a fertilizer, seed, and chemical company up by Plover, Wisconsin for 9.5 years, and then came back to the farm in 2016, and that's when we really got into cover crops. And doing more no-till, minimal tillage, and manure injection that way. So my background helped us diversify what we're doing and then change up from feeding a corn silage and haylage diet to just a straight corn silage diet.
What do you see as the advantages to cover crops?
The advantages that I see to cover crops is soil erosion. Like on these fields, a lot of slopes that we have on our fields is soil erosion. Also, with being a CAFO, is what we can do with helping the soil structure and then helping compaction that we have. So it's a lot with that, and then also beneficial organisms that are in the soil to help with the crops the following years. See if we can cut down on some chemicals and also fertilizer usage.
As a nutritionist, a lot of the questions that we get on cover crops is, how can we use them for feed? You have a lot of different grains, I think maybe a 7-way mix that you use. Can you kind of talk about how you came up with that and how you use that?
So the majority of our acres goes into winter rye after corn silage, and then after our wheat we have a 7-way mix that is peas, radish, sunflower, rape, clover. Then we have wheat that's in there, some winter rye, and some barley. And this year I'm also going to add some vetch to that and a little bit more clover to try and get some more nitrogen in there for the next year. So I'll see how that does. So we're changing that up, and that goes in after wheat because I need a little bit longer of a growing season for that. And then the next spring I'll plant green into that and spray it off right after I plant. So most of our acres I try to plant green into and then spray it off after I plant into it. Looking to see if we can go maybe to a conventional hybrid corn in the future. Currently we have a Roundup ready to help with that weed suppression of those growing cover crops. But you could use that rye the next spring to harvest off for feed if you wanted to then plant into it.
So one of the interesting things I think about this is, how is it affecting the soil?
Yeah, so we are, with being a CAFO, we soil sample every 4 years. So we have that 4-year data from our first soil sample till now. And we're seeing a little bit of an increase in our organic matter and our CECs, which help make that nutrients that's in the soil more available to that plant. And then we've seen a little bit of a decrease in our phosphorus and actually quite a bit of change in the increase of our potash that's in the soil. So with having that change, it shows that you're releasing some of the nutrients that are tied up in that soil, so it's more available to that plant. So the more data I can pull from those soil tests over years, like I said, this is only a 4-year sample of it, then I can hopefully cut down on some of the commercial fertilizers that we're using to help with the plants and then save on some cost savings on the commercial fertilizer side.
How has it affected yields on your crops?
So we have 4 years of data also with a harvest lab in the chopper. So in 2017 we had 19.7 tons of corn silage per acre. 18 was 19.4, and in 2019 we had 22.4 tons. Last year we were just a hair over 20 tons, so the average has been increasing. With the cost of getting those in with switching to more minimal till, we're saving about $23 an acre going from conventional tillage to a more minimal tillage system. So all that we're doing for tillage now is a pass with the VT if we need to. We're trying not to. We're trying to plant more green every year. This year we've planted about 400 acres we planted straight into the cover crop and didn't do any tillage. And then that helps with the cost savings because you have no passes across the field besides minimum disturbance manure injection system. And we'll do that right through the cover crop. And within a week, that cover crop grows right through it. So it's not even really disturbing that cover crop. So we'll do it in a standing cover crop or just seeded cover crop.
How has this affected the feed program of the dairy?
So we switched over to an all corn silage diet. So we took the haylage right out of our ration. So we used to have 450 acres of hay. Now we're down to about 72. We're keeping those on our highly erodible fields. And we don't even harvest that. We sell it off the field to a neighbor. But that allows us to get more of a rotation in there with corn silage, corn grain. We now have a lot of soybeans in the rotation and wheat. And this year we're going to be harvesting our own rye for cover. So we have that field as well. Our current ration is costing us $5.87 per head per day, and our haylage ration was costing us $6.14 per head per day. So we're saving 27 cents a head per day by switching that from a corn silage and haylage diet to an all corn silage diet, and we're just putting in a better dry hay into that ration.
Well, anything else that you're planning, any adjustments you're planning to make, any changes that you might be doing in the future with your cover crops?
So like I said, after the wheat, we're going to try a couple different things in there this year to see how that works. If I could, I'd plant that mix into all the acres we have. I really like what that looks like. The rye's been working really well for us. It grows quick in the fall, and then it actually takes off quick in the spring, and it's easy to plant through. The rate of that, we only go at 40 pounds per acre as we're using that for a cover, so it's not super thick in the spring, and it's easy to terminate in the spring. I've been throwing around, instead of using chemical termination, of how we can roll it or crimper. I know some guys have been using that. I don't know if that'd be an option if we go to more of a conventional hybrid corn over a Roundup Ready corn. But there's always things I'm trying to look at or see if we could do something a little bit different to save on the other sides, or just see how we can help the soil a little bit more, keep something growing there all the time and not really have anything brown there throughout the year at all. Some of the other things we changed is we used to have 108-day to 115-day maturity corn. With going to cover crops, we've dropped that maturity down to 102 days is the latest maturity I'll go. So we range from a 90-day all the way up to 102-day variety corn. And then with that, it allows us to get those crops off sooner, so then we can have more establishment of that rye in the fall to help with your soil structure. And we've seen a lot of more worm activity, which helps with water and nutrient infiltration into that soil. One of the other changes we have is our corn population is at 32,000. I've done some trials on that. This year I actually have a field where I have it at 32,000, then it goes to 28,000, and then up to 40,000 population, and then back down to 32,000. So I want to see how that does across the field when we harvest that, to see if I'm losing yield, if I can gain yield, and what is the ideal population to try and get the most tons and the most bang for your buck, because every seed that you can save is a cost savings on your side.
Well, thanks a lot for sharing all that, Clint. That was really interesting. And thanks again for viewing our podcast from CP Feeds. Again, this is Tim Pruss from CP Feeds and Clint Hodorff from Second Look Holsteins.